This video is sponsored by One Audio. I just started driving. I ended up on this crazy little road and we're low on fuel. I got a hammock, I got a tarp, and a pack of hot dogs. What more do you need? All traffic use CB channel 6. Haven't heard anything yet, but I don't think that's where I want to go. And yes, believe it or not, this is a backpacking video. We're just off to a strange start. And where am I going? Well, I don't exactly know. I am allowed to be here. It's a public road adjacent to public lands. And we're low on fuel too. That's always good. You definitely want to go into the woods way off, away from the highway with a gallon of gas. We are in central Pennsylvania. I got a hammock, I got a tarp, some podcasts, a frying pan, and a pack of hot dogs. What more do you need? Whew. Other than maybe less potholes and an idea of where exactly we are going.
County Control Unit says Freeway Avenue status.
That was not CB, that was police dispatch. But yeah, all I've really seen out here is pickup trucks for whatever mining or probably well operations are around here. But I have been here before as part of a larger loop. Changed my mind at the last minute, decided not to do the standard backpacking loop out of the state park around here. I just started driving. I ended up on this crazy little road, and somewhere around here, from looking at my old waypoints, I did camp as part of that larger loop, and I did like the spot a lot. We're gonna see if I can't find a way to get myself right to that campsite. What I don't know, because I was in the woods before, is whether or not there's anywhere I can actually realistically park around here. Bingo, look at that. Orange blaze, mid-state trail right there. And this here looks like an excellent place for me. Quiet now. A little more overcast now. It was sunnier earlier, but I'll tell you what, those clouds are moving. A little breeze. I think it's probably dropped into the 40s at this point. I'll grab my pack out of the vehicle here. Let's go. Get the phone, put that in airplane. I haven't had service for like half an hour. Even in town, I didn't have cell phone service, but I will be using that for GPS. Get the pack from the other side. Should probably switch into some boots. All right, here we go. Locked. So, the trail over there that I showed you is actually not the direction we want to go. We want to go on the other side of the road here. Loosen up the hip belt here. Got my jacket on. We're not going to be going very far. And right now it's a little chilly, like I said. Not terrible. Actually, by winter standards, it's pretty darn warm at 40 degrees, but feels pretty good with this puffy jacket on. So we'll get that going. We're locked up and ready to go. Sun's coming out a little bit. And I don't know, let's do something weird. Best way to stay safe, plan, plan, plan. Best way to have fun, once you get there, Throw everything out the window. There is the Orange Blazes. That follows the entire Mid-State Trail. In the Mid-State Trail, which right now we are mid-state or central Pennsylvania, but laterally, this goes up the middle of Pennsylvania. It's a long-distance trail. Goes all the way from the Maryland border, down from where I came from this morning in the Jeep there, and cruises up the middle of Pennsylvania all the way until it hits the New York state line. Now, as I alluded to, I was here before on a larger Ramsey Tiadaghton mid-state loop. That was back in January. But when I got to this point, it was actually after dark. I mean, I barely noticed crossing the gravel road up there, but it did stick in my mind. And here we are now. So strangely, this is new to me. I came off the trail and was just wandering around, and I found this kind of confluence of streams. This really big, I believe it was probably a hemlock tree. And that's where I'm going to try to head back to now. And maybe see what it's like to hang out there during the day. Actually, even these ridges here, didn't even notice that that was around before. This area is cool too because of the mountain laurel and pine trees. Even though we are coming out of winter, it is exceptionally green in here, which is very welcome. I'm heating up. This is the jacket that I left at the cabin last time. That's brand new. My Outdoor Vitals Nova Pro jacket. It is crazy warm. And ironically, I do not need it on right now. At least maybe tonight when it swings down to 20 degrees. But right now I'm heating up. But I don't feel like taking my pack off. So maybe I'll just slow the pace down. Enjoy the sights. I'm actually starting to hear water flow down in here, right down in there. Now, hold up. Well, that is weird, and I am glad that something told me to check my GPS coordinates. I came from a different direction up on the actual road there. Last time, like I said, I was wandering around in the dark, off trail from a different direction. I am actually past my campsite I'm trying to revisit. It's back here. I really stumbled upon it apparently just out of happenstance because it was the middle of the night and I was just walking around. Actually, I see a break right here. That, just based on experience, looks like a really nice little hollow area for a campsite. I bet you that's it back there. How to get there from here, I don't know. So I'm gonna backtrack here and then we're gonna cut in and we'll follow that water sound towards it. Not down there like I thought, but more up here. I'm gonna try to find it without using the phone. I can do that, but let's have a little fun. Let's put that in the pocket and let's just nav off of the sound of the water and maybe any natural animal herd paths that we might see. Because when I was there before, saw a lot of buck rubs, which is where a deer rubs his antlers on a tree, and a bunch of scrapes and bedding areas as well. Right in camp. where we're headed, so it's possible that we could pick up on an animal trail. It might lead us right to it. That doesn't look too bad, but you can tell by the branches that nothing's really walking through there. They would be broken, most likely, by larger game at least. And heck, if we're quiet, maybe we'll even sneak up on some game. If I can manage to shut up for a couple minutes, huh? Another really obvious thing that just occurred to me. I said I was underneath of a very large, what I believe to be a hemlock, old growth tree. I'm probably wrong about the type of tree, but either way, a big old tree. So I just look at the top of these trees and find a big one, go towards that, right? These leaves are crunchy. Not too much being sneaky in here. Yeah, I am being super loud. And I'm definitely not on a game trail. Water right there, perfect. Okay, and down there, that's where I saw a lot of rubs and bedding areas. But I'm going to stop being quiet now because, well, while it would have been great for the video to actually stalk up on something completely randomly, that didn't happen. But it was fun. But here we are. We're at camp. I'm going to get this pack off. I got a hammock this time, so I got to look at things a little differently, tree-wise, and figure out what to do. So that'll be our next challenge. But before we get too far into things, I'd like to thank our sponsor for this video, One Audio, and their Open Rock Pro open earbuds. Got a pair right there. Look, anybody out there who's watched a few of my videos over the years, you've probably heard me mention many times that whenever I'm out on the trail or I'm doing camp chores or if I'm in between filming on a long section of trail, 90% of the time I'm listening to an audiobook or a podcast. So I love a good pair of headphones. The problem is, and a lot of you probably know this from being active for hours at a time, with those little earbuds that go in your ear, you get a lot of fatigue, you get sweat in there. Me personally, I wear one at a time and end up switching them back and forth because just hours and hours of use, huffing it up the trail and sweating and whatnot, they just start to hurt my ears. But with the Open Rock Pros, as you can see here, and on that lovely picture right there, they are open ear. They're an air conduction technology, and they do not go in your ear hole. It feels a lot better as far as that fatigue goes. And on top of that, for me personally, when I'm hiking and listening to a podcast and I'm out in nature, I want to be immersed. So I usually keep my listening on a low volume so that I can still kind of hear the nature sounds like we have around me right here, right now. But it's kind of hard to do because even on low volume, I've basically got an earplug in my ear. But with these, I can keep them on low, I can hike along, listen to my book, and I'm still hearing the birds and kind of aware of my surroundings too. If I'm with another hiker who wants to talk to me, I can actually hear them. But also for those times when I do want to just listen to some music and rock out, whether I'm at home doing chores or at the gym pretending to work out, I can pop them both on. I got great stereo sound, awesome frequency response, and solid enhanced bass. Thanks to their tube bass technology, it still has good bass response, even though it's not in your ear, irritating that old ear canal of yours. They've got dual mark noise reduction for sound clarity, and it's got beam forming mic technology. And if you're not familiar with that, I'll spare you the nerding out, but it basically means it's active noise cancellation to get rid of that background noise when you're on a phone call and whatnot. Now, when I'm out in the woods, off the grid, I'm not typically making phone calls. Like I said, I'm listening to podcasts, but in my case, battery life is important, and that is another place where these shine. They have 19 hours of runtime on a single charge, and if you use the handy dandy little charging case that comes with it with its own little built-in battery, you can get 46 hours of runtime. That's almost twice as much runtime as similar earbuds from other competitors out there. Whether you're working out, hiking, or you just listen to a lot of dubstep, I can tell you they don't come off. I've tried many times. I'm sure I look great right now, but that's your demonstration that they don't come off. So there you go. Tighten it or loosen it a little bit to adjust for the size of your ear. And let's say you get a little bit of rain. Well, they are waterproof rating of IPX5, moderate rain, dust, sweat, you're good to go, which is great for hiking. So down in my video description, I do have a link to their official website if you want to check them out to get more information or just show them some love for being a sponsor. That link is down there. They're also available on Amazon as well. I'll put that down there also. So thank you, One Audio, for sponsoring this adventure and making trips like this possible. Speaking of which, we should probably get back out there into the woods and yeah, try to figure out where we're going to set this hammock up and what this campsite's going to look like. All right. Pack down. Take this jacket off, but it's probably going to go right back on now that I'm not moving. But I don't want to get sweaty, so I'll air out a little bit. Try to find some trees.
Q91 available. 98 Street. Got a shot wound to the hand. Still getting further information.
Well, that's super interesting. That's a close call hit. If you're not familiar with scanners, close call means I have this set up to scan. Let me turn that down. I've it set to scan a preset selection of frequencies based on my GPS location, which is a whole nother story. But a close call means that something transmitted within line of sight. I mean, I'm talking within 100 or 200 meters. So that means there's either, most likely, there has to be a repeater on this hill, this ridge somewhere, or somebody on one of these roads is actually transmitting. I don't have the mental fortitude right now to look, but I guess I could figure out if it was actually transmitting simplex or on repeater. But either way, that's interesting. So I got some entertainment for tonight, I guess. Or, like I said, it might have been an actual patrol vehicle that I just happened to catch. But I wasn't expecting that. We'll put this up in the tree. Get to a little higher. Anyway, yeah, where was I? We're going to set up a hammock. So I need 2 trees that are decent amount apart, not dead, and without any deadfall or widowmakers above me. So last time, you can tell I set up right there, like I said, with my tent. This time, hammock. Wind's picking up too. Maybe that's sturdy and alive. That's perfect. Could potentially run it way over there. Some of these branches might get in the way of my tarp, but even the biggest tree hugger among us probably wouldn't disagree that I can pull this deadfall off here and get it clear. I think I might run there to there. We'll give that a shot. Here's my rain pants, my fry pan, winter gloves. Seems crazy right now, but probably need those in the early morning or tonight. I have a heat dissipator right here. Definitely cost me some weight, but if I build a fire or with my gas stove, this will spread the flames out and it'll give me a much better coverage for the bottom of my fry pan. I originally got this for baking bread, but with my budget canister stove, it has a flame pattern about this big. Top ring gear or hard shell, probably be wearing that just for wind protection. Haven't seen this in a while, but this is my Dyneema fabric, which is the same thing they use for ultralight sails on sailboats. Super strong, super light, 5 ounces. That is a tarp. Big bag of food. Just a reusable grocery bag. On top, 8-pack of hot dog buns. Goes with my hot dogs. A bunch of those. Tortillas, whole bunch of different candies, dried fruits. Shout out to Philly and Steve from the cabin, Camp Cook. Some pork roll, vacuum sealed for tomorrow. I also have vacuum sealed sausage. I have a bear bag line, so we'll be taking some rope and hauling this up in a tree tonight, but everything I have is vacuum sealed with the exception of the hot dogs that I'll be opening. I'm not going to eat 8 of them tonight, so I'm going to seal them up real good, double bag them, and hang them up far away from the camp. And I do have some regular old Mountain House backpacking meals as well. And that's my little stove right there. It's not my titanium guy. This is my super budget one. It's a little heavier, but it's still within the 6 or 7 ounce range. And it just screws onto the top of a canister that we'll see later. Super cheap and easy. It was like $8. Maybe it's $10 today, I don't know. But it gets the job done. Pack that away. And I cut up my bear bag line on a previous trip, which is this like sailing gear item, very strong and light. This is called Zing It, but because I cut it up on the last trip, I also have some AM steel, which is incredibly strong. I'm talking like, I don't know, at least 1,500, maybe 2,000 pounds plus strength, but it is lighter than paracord. And the thing with paracord is, everybody loves paracord, but think about the name, paracord, parachute line. It's meant to absorb shock. It's stretchy, which makes sense for jumping out of an airplane. But when it comes to tying stuff up and you don't want stretch and you want rigidity, paracord's really not that great, but it's everywhere and it's cheap. So no judgment for using it, but if you want something a little more effective and lightweight, I would go with Zing It or AM steel if you're doing like a hammock setup, which is, this is used in my hammock. Speaking of which, let's get to the hammock in addition to the toilet paper. Just going through the whole pack here. Some fire starters that my wife gave me there. We'll see how they work later. First aid kit that my friend the cop, who will remain nameless, from Vermont gave me. Titanium cup. There we go. All right, so here's my hammock. Shown it in a ton of videos. Super lightweight, 10 ounces. And speaking of the AM steel, there's a good example. The loops at the end that go on my suspension that you'll see later are AM steel. So, same stuff, just different color. Ski mask slash hat. And then my quilts. Bottom quilt. Top quilt. It's going down into the 20s, but I brought a 30-degree under quilt and a 40-degree top quilt, but I will be sleeping in the jacket that you just saw, as well as I got a base layer in here to add to myself, some long underwear and stuff like that. So I should be just fine based on my personal experience going down into the 20s with that gear. And it's by Hammock gear, so their stuff typically goes beyond what they say their rating is, as opposed to commercial brands that typically kind of exaggerate their temperature limitations. And that's really it. And the yeah, canister stove fuel right there. This is partial, should be good, but my plan is to use actual natural heat from a fire. I'm going to build a fire and use that as much as possible to cook my food when I can, so that I can save that canister fuel for when I really need it for convenience, if I'm on the move, or if I really can't get a fire started. But it seems kind of dry, so I think we're going to be okay. All right. Oh, and hot sauce. Definitely need hot sauce. Probably for breakfast tomorrow, but maybe on one of my hot dogs tonight. We'll see. So there it is. Looks like a mess, but that's really everything. You don't need much. You got your insulation, your sleep, hammock in my case, your coverage, shelter, tarp, and some extra layers of clothing. That's it. There's the long underwear. That's my only extra clothing. If I was on a longer trip, I would have spare socks. I would almost say to somebody newer to backpacking, just bring spare socks. In my experience, I bring synthetic or merino wool socks, and I'm okay with that. But I'm careful about keeping dry. And honestly, they get wet from sweat anyway, and merino wool and synthetic works just fine when it's wet. But yeah, I wouldn't blame you for bringing spare socks. If you're with a group, maybe spare underwear and some deodorant, but in my case, not an issue. So that is my entire kit. As messy as it looks, that's all there is to it. Let's get this hammock up and maybe start to feel like we have home. All right, hammock is up, suspension is up, bottom quilt, the head end. It is important to keep it in the right orientation because it has the insulation configured towards the shoulders and whatnot. And technically, well, not technically, but actually, this is a 3/4 length underquilt, so it saves weight because it only runs from about shoulder to calf. Saves you weight, but you will be cold from the calf down. In my case, it's not a problem. Most people would put a foam small pad about this big underneath their feet. Despite the wind that we hear rushing overhead, from looking at radar and weather reports, I am fairly confident that I'm not going to get any precip tonight. I think I'm going to roll the dice. I'm not even going to put the tarp up. Now, I do have my tent spikes right over there out of camera view. I usually keep those right by the base of the tree. And I have my tarp ready to go as well. Now, the other thing about a tarp is good to keep the wind from robbing you of heat. But in my case, I purposely set up in this direction because I'm getting kind of blocked by the wind. If that wasn't an option, then I would probably put the tarp down. But I'm feeling pretty good with this. So, yeah, I'm gonna let the insulation fluff up. I'm getting pretty hungry. It's afternoon now. So, might be time to start a fire and make some hot dogs. Let's see what kind of firewood we can find. There's plenty of sticks around here. Are they dry enough to start a fire? Well, I guess we're about to find out. Alright, so here's the fire pit, and this right here is a Zip fire starter my wife gave me there. Got my diffuser. What I want to do is create a platform for this little base. I'm going to make some hot dogs. Probably just going to add 3 and some hot sauce, and I'm ready to go. You know what? It's actually working pretty well. It's better than being on just an open flame. Looks pretty good. Whew. These feel so cold. Start with 2. Toast them up. We got some coals going. A little bit more of a controlled flame, which is good. Wow, that is insanely good. Yeah, that shouldn't be that enjoyable, but out here in the middle of nowhere, it is just a little bit better. I can feel, and you can probably hear that wind whipping up. Weather system is changing, but we have our shelter over there. We got our fire going. The sun is definitely receding, and some branches are coming down, but that's all right. Maybe rotate my last 2 hot dogs. Heat these second 2 up extra crispy. Sunset is within 20 minutes or so. We'll let that giant ball of orange go down. See what happens when it comes up. Good morning, everyone. 2 things you can probably tell right now. 1, I'm quite bundled up. And 2, I do have the tarp above me. Despite the forecast saying it wasn't going to happen, it did end up precipitating last night. I was lounging. I think I actually snoozed off a little bit and then was woken up by the sound of what I thought was rain, but it ended up being a nice little dusting of snow out there. What was on the tarp I think has melted, or maybe that's just frozen rain on there. But yeah, got some snow and it stuck around, and that is because it is quite cold. Got my jacket on with my hood up, and as I said yesterday, I only got a 30-degree underquilt. That's this guy right here, and 40-degree top quilt, and definitely pushed the limits of that because I forgot to bring my little thermometer on this trip. But when I got up earlier to answer nature's call just before sunup, it felt like it was probably in the upper teens. So it might have gone a little low than the forecast of 20 degrees as well. Whew. The sun is definitely up now though, as you can see. It's poking through the trees a little bit, lighten up the tarp there. It's pushing on like 7:30. Slept in a little bit. I should probably get up and we'll figure out what we want to do with today. If we want to leave this as a base camp or pack up and get on the move. First things first though, probably want a little bit of food and hydration, which my water is probably frozen right now, so I guess I'll get some fresh stuff out of the stream. Got some water there. Drop some iodine tablets in that. Because of these temperatures, I have gone away from the filter and back to the iodine tablets, so I don't have to worry about my filter freezing. Got my breakfast ready to go over here. Should be good. These are the pre-cooked sausage links, Jimmy Dean's, some Wendy's hot chili sauce, and my street tacos. Put those in the frying pan this morning. Just got to collect a little more firewood, but this is a pretty sparsely used area, so it shouldn't be a problem. And underneath of my lovely pine tree here, you can see that I was shielded from the snow, which is exactly why I think this tent area that I set up before has stayed clear, because I can tell that there's deer that are definitely bedding down in here and hanging out around here. In fact, there's even deer poop right over there somewhere. So I probably interfered with somebody's nighttime routine yesterday as far as deer go. But there's my tarp right there. I really maxed out the length on my tarp ridgeline. You see on this side, I just have that little clip there. And it goes around, makes it real easy. It clips to itself. A little Dutch hook there. And it runs all the way down. The tarp slides back and forth on it with some prussics. So I just put the line up, and then I can slide the tarp back and forth and adjust it properly over top of my hammock. But I was so far apart that I couldn't actually get this properly around the tree last night. I know it looks like I have enough, but that's a pretty thick tree. So I ended up just improvising, and I hooked the Dutch wasp directly to the Dyneema ridgeline that's holding up the hammock. The only downside of that is when I get in the hammock, you know, it kind of puts a little play on the tarp, but it's honestly, or at least surprisingly, didn't affect it too badly. And I really whipped that up at the last minute last night. Because like I said, I was woken up to what I thought was rain, but it ended up being this snow that we see around here. And I did put the side pullouts up real quick too. I'll probably re-tension those later for tonight. Which, yes, I said tonight. I'm thinking quite possibly I kind of really like this area. It might just be base camping it. I don't know, like, why not? I've already done this loop, and I discovered this area and I like it. Fresh snow on the ground, bluebird sky. And granted, from checking out my weather band on the scanner here, it did say there could be a little bit of high winds tonight, and ultimately some rain on the hike out tomorrow. But temp wise, it's going to warm up, which will be nice. And so I might just spend today exploring this area, and maybe we'll just check out what's around, collect firewood, have some good food, and just enjoy some fun in the woods. And hopefully I'll get this knit hat off soon as the temperature rises too. If it looks a little funny, it's because it's actually a, I don't know which way I have it. It's actually a ski mask that I roll, yeah, that I roll up. But here we go. Anyway, I can do that with it, but it's not quite that serious. So I just fold it up, and it turns into a hat and whatnot. Also apologize, got a split lip here, cut it somehow about a week ago, and it just will not heal. So thankfully, I'm pretty sure you don't tune into this channel to look at my pretty face. So yeah, probably not going to affect things. But let's collect some firewood and get a little fire going. Get some sausage sizzling. A little breakfast. Sounds good to me. Now, as much as I want to put the sausage in here immediately, I got a bunch of ice accumulation in my pot that I did clean out the best I could last night, but I didn't flip it over, unfortunately. So during that pre-sip, I got a bunch of ice in there. So we'll burn that off, get that heated up, and actually I think we're already pretty good. Got my diffuser once again. And might as well go ahead and get the sausage in. This pan might actually be too hot. I'm going to go ahead and do all this because I'm hungry. And at this point, it's going to be basically a brunch, if not a lunch. I don't even know what time it is. Haven't used my stove once, which is nice. But I do like having the diffuser. It's a nice base. And it does seem to kind of spread the flame out, especially because this is an ultralight pot, which ironically, after bringing this, I mean, between the two, I guess it's kind of negating the weight savings. But hey, that's what I own, so I brought what I had. But it does seem to kind of spread out the heat and make things cook a little nicer, which is cool. And maybe on a future trip, I'll try it with the alcohol stove, which is notorious for basically just being good for boiling water and not doing much else. But you never know. If I use the alcohol stove with the diffuser here, just might be able to cook something up nice. Speaking of cooking something up nice, that sausage is starting to smell pretty good. And it is pre-cooked. But ironically, it's also kind of frozen from sitting here overnight. So it's going to take a little bit to come around. But once it does, I'll put it in these street tacos, throw a little hot sauce on it from Wendy's, chili sauce, and have ourselves a brunch. Doesn't look like the snow has completely disappeared yet, but I would imagine with that sun beaming down with no clouds, well, we'll have to see how much snow is left by the time I get done this meal. Here come the birds. I know you guys don't want sausage. Are you a Gray Jay? Yeah, you might be a Gray Jay. Notorious. Man's best friend. It's not dogs. It's Gray Jays. I've had Gray Jays in New Hampshire follow me, no exaggeration, for miles, just waiting for you to drop a crumb or something. It's funny. Anyway, grab one of these tortillas. Actually, tortillas are a little cold. Wouldn't want that to happen. Give that a little sizzle. It's soaking up some grease, but that's alright. Actually, I could probably use my diffuser to toast up some tortillas, but I'm a little too hungry for that right now. So, let's, oh yeah, that's toasty. Get my chopsticks. What do we want to do? One of these or two of these? Do two. Put a little hot sauce on it. Give it a go. First thing I ate all day. Pushing on 10 o'clock. I've just been hanging out and enjoying the sights, but I'm feeding this fire, of course. time flew by, but it's funny. I didn't think I was hungry. As soon as I get my first bite of this, oh, not quite warm enough to get this hat off yet. I do have my long underwear on, which I didn't sleep in last night, and I realized that around 5:30, 6 a.m. when it was about at its coldest, as it usually is. Totally forgot to put those on, but feels pretty good right now. Food is good. Sometimes it's nice to have a long route and a bunch of vistas. Sometimes it's nice just to come out and make a little home in the woods. And that is what we are doing on this one. All right. Well, the pan was hot. It looks like in order to get this clean enough to get out of here, probably need to put it back on the fire for a little bit. Or in my case, I got some coals, which I'm comfortable walking away from. They're burnt down pretty good, but I'll just get a little water in the pan, let that sit on the coals, and maybe we'll take a walk around, see what our situation is and what the surrounding area looks like. At this point, we are losing a lot of snow. It's almost back, at least on this side over here, to the way it looked when I hiked in. There's a little more over here, but we'll check things out. Doesn't even look like a fire at all, does it? Not too much. Oh, there we go. Let's go for a little walk. Got my energy drink, a little caffeine. Didn't make coffee. For this trip, kept it fast and light. I dropped the pin on my phone, GPS app, to know where I was, or keep track of where I was. And you can see this morning this was all covered. There's the tarp down there. This was all covered in snow. And we got a little bit hanging on these veins of rocks here. That's about it. I think up here it ascends to the ridge, and I think the trail is actually up there somewhere, the mid-state trail. I vectored in from there and hit it along the water, but I believe if I go this way I hit it as well. Man, it is a lot warmer out here in the sun. Crazy difference in temperature. It was real cold in there. My tent site, hammock site, is quite chilly. And I definitely do not have, like I said this morning, exactly what I should have brought for the temperatures I ended up getting. I mean, the forecast was borderline anyway, but then I think being back in those pines, I definitely got less or lower temperatures than was forecasted. In addition to the fact that I'm up at a little bit higher elevation than the forecast for in town. See if the trail, actually that looks like a trail right there. If it's not, then it's suspiciously well used. Yeah, that's definitely a trail. So here's a real trail right here. Oh, Orange Blaze. Mid-State Trail. back on it. Back in the sun. And it feels totally different over here. You can actually see a little bit of haze. That's probably my smoldering campfire that burned out. But it's still hanging around right down in here. And I'm down that way. If I kept going this way, I would run into the town of Ramsey, which is like 2 miles from the bigger town, if you will, of Waterville, which is where they have the general store. You can pick up a burger there, as well as they have camp food and supplies and stuff like that. I don't think I'm going to get up onto any ridges today. I'm down in the cut right now. So I'm trying to decide what I want to do here. This whole trip is kind of going with the gut. After all, I did kind of drive into the middle of nowhere and park at a drilling head. Speaking of which, it is on my mind. Not a lot of fuel in that Jeep. But I'm about 10 miles away. Downhill on these logging roads. So I should be fine to roll into town and get some gas. I hope. Speaking of downhill, this trail's starting to go downhill, which means if I turn around, I'm going to be going uphill. I don't think I want to do that too much. I've just been kind of wandering here, but I don't want to get too far away from camp. If I do run out of fuel, no big deal. I think I know how to hike 10 miles, get some gas, and come back. Just have to buy a can. It's not like I'm out in Death Valley here or anything. But if that happens, it's going to cost me some time. I do like to think ahead and have a contingency plan. I am very close to our cabin. So, emergency exfil back to the Jeep. And maybe finish this with a cabin run. Hot pizza and a beer. I remember this little crossing here, so I think we got to cut in this way. Get back to camp. Besides, should probably pick up the hint and stop angering the indigenous population around here, because came over here to wash off my hands in the stream and in the moss here, which felt pretty good. But right there you can see the front of my boot print from just before our walk, and on top of it is a fresh hoof print, very obviously over top of my boot print. So yeah, I may not have seen any, but I wasn't wrong. They are in here and waiting for me to go away. I guess I went on my walk and he's probably looking at me right now. It's all right, bud. I'm heading out. All right, I'm going to break this baby down and try to get us back to the road safe and sound. And there was actually, when I woke up and it was first starting to precip, there was thunder and a clap of lightning. Actually lit the place up pretty good, just once, but that was interesting. Nice thing is, this is completely dry now from sitting in the sun. Drop that. And flip the S-beater on that. Pack that away. That's that. And this system that I have, at least, completely detaches from the suspension. This is the number one thing that's easy to forget, is the ridge line. Let's take that down. I'll shove that into the crease of my snake skins for next time. Fry pan in a separate Ziploc bag. I clean most of the grease off of it, but just so I don't get smudge from the fire and whatnot on there. And then, I mean, we're packing out, so it's not the end of the world, but either way, I usually like to go with the quilts on the bottom, heaviest stuff in the middle, which in my case is not much. Maybe the hammock. I like to put that next so it's easily accessible. If I was doing a second night, I want to have that out before the quilts. So I put that in there. Food bag, because I want that accessible to be able to eat, of course. But it's honestly the bulk of my weight. Usually about 7 pounds of food and water is what I carry. In addition to my 10-pound base weight. So, you know, I run about 17 to 20 pounds max. My objective now is, well, whether or not the Jeep is still there, and if it is, if it'll run us down the mountain.
47,051, 176 take back over there at West Spring.
Campsite is clear, both in terms of leave no trace as well as, well, I don't want to leave any gear behind either. Fire's out, poured water on that. There's some nice logs for the next person, although honestly I don't know how often this is used, but it's a good spot. It treated me well. So when we did our little walk, the trail, we intersected it straight up there, but the Jeep is up there. We're just gonna walk this way until we hit the trail. Man, I know I keep saying it, but it's crazy how much warmer it is as soon as I get away from that campsite. As much as I love it, it's cold as ice in there. Look at that ridge there. It really goes straight up that way. Whew. It looks pretty flat and inviting over here. It was all downhill to get here, so it'll be all uphill to get out. But so far, haven't heard any oil riggers saying that they're towing out a black Jeep, so that's a good sign. I just got it narrowed down to CB channels. I mean, they didn't make it that hard counter surveillance wise to figure out who to listen to. And I'm skinning FRS and MERS as well, but just for fun. See a flat ridge there. It's definitely a road. It looks like an intersecting trail right there. Find out if we can roll this thing downhill. All right. Fuel don't fail me now. Here we go. Let it coast. Let it coast. Doesn't take credit cards. Please God, let me pay inside. Number 3, I believe.
Okay, we don't do presets, so you're welcome to come first and then pay.
Okay, cool. I'll do that. Thank you. All right, to the cabin. First priority, eating some food. Possibly gonna mark some trees to take down, but we'll see how I want to deal with that after I eat some food. Always seem to have snow in this section. Here we are. There's the outhouse, the solar panel, and down there is where I would like to clear some trees for a view, and I know the chairman would too. But right now, let's go inside. Whew, a little chilly. 43 inside, 42 out. So we got a whole 1 degree difference. But we'll get this gas heat on. Don't think I'm gonna mess with the actual wood burning stove, which is right there, because I'm really just gonna be here for like 1 night and gone in the morning. Get some electricity up in here. Let's see. Oh yeah, the fan's already on. High speed. All right, turn that down. As much as I enjoyed our little adventure yesterday, it feels pretty good to be up here with this view. So we had this logged, as I went over in the previous video. That is a beautiful view. This over here, might be, you know, like VIP, and you wouldn't want to have no view from the VIP. Probably got to clear some trees, and I see 2, 3, 4 major ones, maybe 5 way down there, but 4 right off the bat. This biggest one right here, and he's a big boy. I think that's target number 1 right there. It's pretty tall, so probably flag those. Have a little pizza. Did get some Yingling, Pennsylvania represent. I have my 3 pieces of pizza already, so I'm a little tired. Here's the box of movies. What do we got? Not gonna lie, I'd just be doing Good, Bad, the Ugly for the 109th time. Little background movie with a Yingling, Pennsylvania's finest, or at least Pennsylvania's. And it is after dark. That's all we need to know. Hiker midnight. Not even going to set an alarm. Just have the windows open and the sun will come right through that window in the morning. Pretty sure I'll just wake up naturally. And we'll take it from there. Timber! I'm just kidding. I told you I wasn't going to mess with any of this by myself. I did come down here to look again, though. Honestly, there's nothing down here that are anywhere near a size that I'm comfortable messing around with taking down myself. So we're going to leave that for another time. I did kind of mark on the back here just an example of where a back cut would be, which is a little bit higher than where the wedge comes in. That is something for multiple guys, a chainsaw, and you don't have to, but maybe even a wedge, which I don't think we have up here. Maybe we do, I haven't bothered looking, but you can get like a wedge and pound it in there to kind of help the tree go. In fact, on the way up, I'll probably show you a couple examples of what like a hinge looks like when it comes down. But yeah, I was hoping to have a little fun and do something that would be safe to practice on, but don't really see it. So I'm gonna head back up the hill. It's warmed up, but it's still in the 30s. No rain, thankfully, which is nice. We'll be up in a few weeks, and that'll be on my dad's channel. He does the cabin videos, so you can see what my dad, myself, and the rest of the crew do on that video. His channel is White Rook 85. Let's go this way. I think there's actually a tree I can show you over here. There you go. So you can see this is the hinge I was talking about. See that? And so what he did was he cut that wedge. And of course this is an even bigger tree, but you get the idea. There's the wedge coming in. And then the back cut that he did was just a little bit higher than where the 45-degree angle or so came in. And that controlled the tree in one direction, and it broke and went down. And that's actually probably the stump right there for it. It is time for me to wrap this up. I've already shut the gas off. Soaking up a little bit of solar, a couple watts from our solar panel over there. But not much. But there'll be a little bit of juice for the next guy who comes up. Although honestly, by the time we come up again, I'll be bringing a much bigger battery system up with me. We just don't keep it here in these colder months. So we'll lock up the cabin. It's pretty much cleaned up. I'm just going to change into some driving shoes and I'll hit the Jeep. So thanks for joining me on this one. A little hammock camping in the middle of nowhere off of a Welling Road somewhere deep in the woods of central PA. And we ended here at the cabin. So till next time, I'm Syntax77, and right now, yes, even though we had pizza last night, somewhere on the turnpike, I'm going to resolve that issue. So right now, it's cheeseburger time.